The vacuum of space had never known such silence. Commander Emma Chun stood on the bridge of the Prometheus. Her fingers pressed against the cool metal railing as she watched the viewscreen display the carnage before them. Dozens of alien vessels, Vorath destroyers, Kelton cruisers, and the serpentine forms of Xipherian warships hung motionless in the void, their weapon systems powered down. They weren't retreating. They weren't attacking. They were waiting for humanity's answer. Ma'am. All enemy vessels have ceased fire, reported Lieutenant Jackson Miller from the tactical station. His voice steady despite the tension that filled the bridge like static electricity. They're just watching us. Emma's jaw tightened. 3 months ago, Earth had been a backwater planet on the edge of civilized space, barely noticed by the galactic powers that had warred among themselves for millennia. 3 months ago, humanity had been considered primitive, insignificant, hardly worth the effort of conquest. 3 months ago, her younger brother had been alive. Status of the Prometheus? She asked, her voice cold and measured. All weapon systems online and charged, Jackson replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface before him. Plasma cannons at 100%. Railguns loaded. Fusion torpedoes armed and ready. The quantum shielding is holding at maximum capacity. He paused, then added quietly, We're ready, Commander. Emma nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving the alien fleet that had devastated the colony on Arcturus Prime. 200,000 souls had called that moon home. Her brother among them. Now it was nothing but rubble and ash, another casualty in a war that humanity hadn't asked for but had been dragged into nonetheless. The Prometheus wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's declaration that they would no longer be victims. Open a channel, Emma commanded. All frequencies. I want every ship in this sector to hear what I have to say. The communications officer's hands trembled slightly as she worked her console. Channel open, Commander. You're broadcasting to ... Jesus, ma'am, there are over 300 vessels out there. They're all listening. Emma stepped forward, her silhouette framed against the massive viewscreen. Behind her, the Prometheus stretched out for 3 kilometers, a leviathan of dark metal and burning blue engines, bristling with weapons that represented the culmination of humanity's technological leap. In just 3 short months, Earth had gone from primitive space explorers to architects of devastation. Necessity, it seemed, was indeed the mother of invention. This is Commander Emma Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet Warship Prometheus, she began, her voice echoing across the comm systems of hundreds of alien vessels. You have violated sovereign human territory. You have attacked our colonies. You have murdered our people. She paused, letting the words hang in the vacuum. And you believe there would be no consequences? On the viewscreen, the alien formations remained still. Emma could imagine the chaos on their bridges, the translators working frantically. The commanders trying to understand what this new player in their ancient conflict actually represented. Ma'am, Jackson called out, his eyes fixed on his screens. I'm detecting communication bursts between the Vorath and Kelton fleets. They coordinating. I think they're about to form an alliance against us. Emma's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Let them. The Vorath were a warrior species, their empire built on conquest and military might. The Keltons were merchants and opportunists, their fleets armed to the teeth to protect their trade routes. The Xipherians were religious zealots, convinced that the galaxy belonged to them by divine right. For centuries they had fought each other, their wars consuming entire star systems, their conflicts leaving billions dead, and they had all dismissed humanity as irrelevant. They're moving, Jackson announced, his voice rising slightly. Vorath destroyers forming attack formation. Kelton cruisers charging weapons. The Xipherian vessels are, Commander. They're all targeting us. All of them. Emma's hand moved to the command console beside her, her fingers hovering over the red authorization panel. Mr. Miller, I need you to be absolutely certain. Can the Prometheus handle what's coming? Jackson met her eyes, and in that moment, Emma saw the same determination that had driven humanity to build this magnificent weapon. He had lost people too. They all had. The colonies at New Terra, Arcturus Prime, Europa Station, the body count had climbed into the millions before Earth had said enough. The Prometheus was designed for this exact scenario, Jackson said firmly. Every simulation, every test, every calculation has led to this moment. We can take them, Commander. All of them. The first wave of enemy fire lit up the darkness like a supernova. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, and energy beams converged on the Prometheus from 300 different angles. A concentrated barrage that would have vaporized any conventional warship in seconds. The quantum shielding flared to life. A shimmering bubble of distorted space-time that surrounded the human vessel. The alien weapons struck the shield and simply ceased to exist. Their energy absorbed and redistributed across dimensional barriers that humanity had only theorized about a year ago. Shield holding at 98%, Jackson reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Negligible damage? They're not even scratching us. Emma's voice cut through the bridge like a blade. Return fire. Show them what humanity learned while they were busy, destroying each other. The Prometheus opened up, plasma. Cannons mounted along the warship's spine unleashed torrents of superheated matter that crossed the distance to the alien fleet in heartbeats. Unlike the conventional plasma weapons the aliens used, these were magnetically contained until the moment of impact, allowing them to maintain coherence across vast distances. A Vorath destroyer took a direct hit to its midsection and simply folded in on itself, crushed by the concentrated energy. The railguns fired next, accelerating tungsten slugs to a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy was devastating. A Kelton cruiser exploded as a single round punched through its shields, through its armor, through its reactor core, and out the other side, continuing on to disable 2 more vessels and the formation behind it. Targeting systems are acquiring multiple locks, Jackson called out, his hands moving with practiced precision across his console. Firing fusion torpedoes. The torpedoes were humanity's answer to the aliens' energy shields. Instead of trying to penetrate them, the warheads would detonate just outside the shield perimeter, creating miniature fusion reactions that generated electromagnetic pulses and radiation bursts. Shield generators couldn't handle that kind of stress. They would overload, fail, and leave their ships vulnerable across the battlefield. Alien shields began to flicker and die. They're breaking formation, the sensors officer reported. The Zypherian fleet is attempting to retreat. The Vorath and Keltons they're turning on each other. Emma watched as the ancient animosities reasserted themselves. In the face of humanity's overwhelming firepower, the fragile alliance crumbled. The Vorath, ever aggressive, began firing on the Kelton vessels, blaming them for the failed assault. The Keltons returned fire, their merchant pragmatism replaced by survival instinct. The Zypherians, their religious fervor shaken by the realization that they were not, in fact, the chosen people of the galaxy, fled in disorder. Cease fire, Emma commanded. Let them go. The Prometheus fell silent, its weapons cooling as it hung in the void, untouched and unbowed. Around it, the alien fleet scattered, their ships limping away with damaged hulls and broken pride. Jackson looked up from his station, his expression a mixture of awe and concern. Commander, we just defeated 3 major galactic powers simultaneously. Every species in the galaxy is going to know what happened here today. Good, Emma said quietly. She thought of her brother, of the colonists on Arcturus Prime, of all the humans who had died because the galaxy thought they were weak. Let them know. Let them all know that humanity will no longer be prey. We didn't ask for this war, but we'll finish it on our terms. She turned to face her crew. These men and women who had crewed humanity's first true warship, who had proven that Earth could stand among the stars not as victims but as equals. Set course for the nearest neutral station. We're going to make sure the Galactic Council understands the new reality. Yes, ma'am, Jackson acknowledged, programming the jump coordinates. Commander, for what it's worth. I think your brother would be proud. They all would be. Emma's expression softened for just a moment. I hope so, Lieutenant. I really do. The Prometheus turned, its engines flaring to life with brilliant blue fire. As it prepared to jump to hyperspace, every remaining alien vessel in the sector watched in silence. The message was clear, carved into the void by weapons and will. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. On the bridge, Emma Chun stood tall, her reflection visible in the darkened viewscreen. Behind her, Earth's first warship hummed with power, ready for whatever came next. They had been pushed into this conflict, had been forced to become warriors when all they wanted was to explore and survive, but they had learned quickly. They had adapted. And they had built something that made the ancient powers of the galaxy tremble, the quantum drive engaged. And the Prometheus vanished into the fold of space-time, leaving behind a battlefield littered with the wreckage of those who had underestimated humanity. In the silence that followed, the surviving alien commanders began sending emergency transmissions to their homeworlds, all carrying the same urgent message: the humans had arrived. And everything had changed. Admiral Krath of the Vorath Empire sat in his command chair aboard his flagship, staring at the empty space where the human warship had been. In 3 centuries of military service, he had never seen anything like it. The speed, the power, the ruthless efficiency, it was terrifying. He opened a channel to Vorath Prime, his voice heavy with a mixture of respect and fear. This is Admiral Krath. I am declaring an immediate cessation of all hostile actions against human territories. We have encountered a force that we cannot defeat. Repeat, we cannot defeat them. Similar messages went out from the Kelton and Zypherian fleets. Within hours, they would reach the Galactic Council. Within days, ambassadors would be scrambling to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. Within weeks, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Prometheus continued its journey, carrying with it the hopes and determination of an entire species that had finally claimed its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as survivors who had learned that sometimes, to preserve peace, one must be ready for war. Emma Chun, commander of humanity's wrath and herald of its future, looked out at the stars and whispered a promise to the brother she'd lost and the millions who had fallen before humanity found its strength. We will never be victims again, never. The galaxy had fallen silent when humanity's warship arrived, and in that silence a new era had begun.